My name is Abe Thu, and I'm the founder for Dialogue. So next slide, please. All right, so what's the problem? The problem is pretty much, as we all know, companies have issues with people not being engaged at work and also people leaving. So retention is a big issue in this time of knowledge-based organizations, and especially people who don't quit but stay on the company, but they're fully disengaged. So you can see from these different figures here, from different sources, Gallup, Deloitte, and Gartner has all these surveys they've done where only 32% of the US employees are actually engaged. So that means that out of 100 people, 32 people at work are fully working, while the rest are just, you could say, cruising along. And that's costing your company a lot of money. So as you can see, $450 to $500 billion. So, and those are disengaged employees. Eventually, these disengaged employees, if they're motivated enough, they will leave your company. And if they are quite skillful, it can be up to 200% of their salary to replace them. So you're thinking about recruiting, training, onboarding until like they are actually productive again. So that can take up to like 2 to 6 months of time, especially in a very skillful environment. And by doing surveys, they also know that only 2 out of 10 employees are actually happy with the way their performance is being managed. And that could be directly from a manager, through incentives, different things. So they've actually even done like a net promoter score on employees being happy about their performance management, and the number was actually in the negative. So as you can see, companies are quite aware that people are not happy with how they are being managed and how their performance is being managed. And it's costing a lot of money. Next slide, please. So the question is, why is this happening? So the first thing is straightforward. Everybody, I think, can agree on this, is managers. Managers amplify the team. So traditional management has always been very top-down. I'll tell you what to do, and you just do it. But in this day and age of knowledge-based work, it's hard to keep doing that. Motivation comes from internally and not from external, and a lot of research has proven that. And the tools that we use to do performance management has always been more about measurement, like measuring how you're doing, and then using that to calculate your raises or your bonuses. So it's never about improving the employee or helping the employee grow. It's more about grading you and judging you. So these two things, move towards motivation, right? So all these things are not actually increasing motivation in the employee. It's actually decreasing it. And by reinforcing the bonuses and raises at the individual level, you're saying that the team performance is not as important. But in this day and age, working in teams is actually more important than individual performance. Next slide, please. So what's the solution? So Dialogue is the platform that we've built that is more team-focused and it's meant to build high-performing teams. So the first step that Dialogue tackles is building relationships. You're working in a team, that means relationships are the most important. How you work together versus what you are working on. And a lot of times, a manager's relationship with employees is very important. So here we have one-on-one conversation that is built into Dialogue so that managers have weekly or bi-weekly personal conversations with employees related around their growth, their challenges, and what they want out of their careers. The other thing is Dialogue applies very agile-centric and also what they call PDCA, which is always plan and then follow through and then check how you're performing and then reiterate. So you're always analyzing how you're doing and changing your plan based on how you're doing so that you're always getting better. And a lot of previous performance engagement tools are focused around measurement, and it's typically spearheaded by HR instead of the team themselves. When it comes to motivation, when other people control that motivation, you are never self-motivated. So in this case, Dialogue is meant to be used directly by the teams themselves and not by HR. the teams need to take ownership of their own performance and have that within their control. So provide performance data to the teams directly so that they can see how they're doing and they can get better themselves. And then Dialogue includes a teamwork AI called Rosie, who is kind of like our mascot. So what she does is, as you do go through each conversations, goal setting, task management, Rosie will provide contextual nudges or like hints that are relevant to that process. We all can learn reading books, but if we can't apply it right away within the current work that we're doing, that knowledge quickly evaporates from our minds. So what Rosie does is she provides relevant information at the right time so that right before you have a conversation with your employee about a performance issue, Rosie will tell you like, okay, if you're going to talk about this topic, we should use these kind of conversation starters, these kind of topics to bring up. So she's providing managerial information that you might not be using every day, but you get sent to like once a year or so, but now she's giving it to you when you need it as you're about to have that conversation. So it's just in time information for the team. Next slide, please. So why does this work? So this works because it's a continuous improvement method, I would say like agile, to leadership and team relationships. The relationships, just like any relationship we have with our spouses, friends, family members, right? You have to take care of them on a regular basis. If you think everything's going well and you just kind of slide back and cruise through it, relationships fall apart. So any relationship you want to do, you want to have a continuous, deliberate practice. Like keep doing it, but also keep doing it consistently. That's more important than doing it right every time. You just have to do it consistently, and eventually you'll get it right because Rosie's there to give you hints and nudges on how to do it the right way.
3 minutes left. 3 minutes left.
All right. So another one big thing is important is dialogue reinforces team identity. Behavioral science has shown that people want to belong to something bigger. That means that they need to feel like their team is like a family or like an actual sports team, right? It's bigger, so Dialogue tries to provide that mentality. Next slide, please. So the market is, talent management is $8 billion in 2017 and expected to grow to 30 by 2025. Companies are finding that they're having issues with the current workforce and they're trying to figure out how to keep them motivated and keep up the performance. So there's a huge growth market out there. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of players out there. There's traditional ones, the next wave of companies coming along. But at the same time, they're still focused around performance measurement and around salaries and raises and bonuses. But when you do that, when you measure something in a software, people tend to game the software. So you have to take the measurement out so that they can feel like it's more of a learning and development platform than a measurement platform. Next slide, please. Business model currently $15 per month per user for team level. So it can be bought at simple as 5-person team to a 10-person team to multiple teams. Current traction, we have one paying customer that is a large team actually using 15 users, and they've done 200 one-on-one meetings in the past. Next slide, please. I'm just going to quickly go over the roadmap because this is kind of more of a feature list, but the future need is pretty much continue to improve the software and finding marketing and sales people that will be suitable for this platform. Next slide, please. Future growth, as you can see, performance management is really changing. Every executive knows that pretty much how they're doing current ways of performance management is not working, and that in the next 3-4 years, the market is really going to be looking different. Next slide, please. Currently, we are 3 people. All 3 of us are, you can think of them as builders. We've built products for software with everybody's having 10+ years, and I've done it over 20+ years of enterprise software. We're heavily influenced by behavior-based software rather than just feature-based. That means that we try to understand what will make people successful rather than just building out features. Next slide, please. And that's it. We enjoy what we do, and we think it's really important for work. Thank you.